in Zoho views, and there's a lot of things that you can do as a user. Just looking at the screen, you can search and sort by various columns and such, but you actually have more power when you go into the edit mode. Now, of course, that's restricted to the administrators, but I wanted you to be aware of the features. So if you're an administrator, you can use them. If you're not an administrator, you can tell the administrator that this is a feature you like turned on. So let's go into the edit mode. I'm going to edit this application. And looking at the view, first off, you get the list of all of the columns up here, and you can move those around. So let's say I wanted the company name to be over here. It's just a simple drag and drop. So I can easily rearrange the columns that way. The display properties is more of the general screen, and you can choose how many records per page. There's different views. You've got the standard list view, which is a spreadsheet. You've got a grid view, which is it shows less records, but gives a little more room between each of the fields. So sometimes it's a better view. Summary basically shows all the information as separate pages. It's useful if you have just a few records, but beyond that, it just gets a little cumbersome. And calendar, of course, is for something where you've got scheduled items. But most of the time, you're looking at the spreadsheet view. All right, so let me come over to the column properties, because this is an area that you'll spend a lot of time on. And here you have a list of all the fields that are available. And you can see here's the label name that's used on the original form. And actually, let me come back to this preview. It tells us down here, tells us what the view is based on. So this project's view is based on the project form. All right, so let's come back to the column properties. Here it's showing all of the columns within the project's form. And let's say that for whatever reason I don't want to display the email. I just don't want that to be available. So now when I go back to the form, the email will not be available. And I do have to explain one other thing about that. So let me click on Done. So we'll save that. And I'll come back to access this application. And you can see the email is not there, or you can't see that it's not there. Now, it is showing here, but that's a very different concept, which I'll get to momentarily. If I click on this button over here, it gives me a show and hide of all of the fields, but you'll see that the email is not listed. So I can hide it when I'm working in the edit mode, and it's hidden permanently. It cannot be seen at all. Whereas I can say I want to show that field in the edit mode, and then when I come into the live mode, I can select which fields I want to see in the live mode. So it's kind of two different levels of hiding. If it's hidden in the edit mode, it's hidden completely. Whereas there might be a field that you want to see on the screen, but sometimes it's cluttering things up. There's too many columns left or right, or it might be a field with a lot of description, so it's taking half the page for the description for one item. And you can just say, I don't want to see the description right now. So I click on Done, and the description disappears. But if I were to refresh, let me come up here and I'll refresh the view, and it comes back because I only hit it on a temporary basis. And just to show you one more thing, if I do make changes, I get a little asterisk here to say that there are changes. And let's say I've changed which fields are showing. I can then come in and I can save my changes because I am the administrator, and it saves it permanently. All right, but let me go back into the edit mode. And another feature on the column properties, you can change the heading here. So I could put in whatever. Maybe I don't need the content. I just need the name. Takes up less space. So I can make any change on the column displayed here, but this is the name that's in use on the form. So you have those two choices. This is a very, very useful feature where it says a link or not link. Now this is a fairly simple application, so we don't have a lot here, but I've assigned the task to an employee, and the employee is another table. So this projects view or projects form is linked to the employee table. And I can have a link here And if I say link, and let me click on done, and we'll come back to access the application. And now, under this assigned to column, if I click on the name, it'll open up that the view associated with it. So here I can see the name, the email, the phone, the hire date, the status, and the notes, and all that's controlled by that link field. So I come to the column properties and uncheck that, then it's not available. But it is a very useful feature, and it's tied to the views. Now I only have one view for the employee, but let's say I want to have like hire date and certain things that are not public information. No one needs to know that. I could create another employee view which doesn't have the information I don't want to have public. So it just have maybe the email, the phone number, and maybe a description of this person's skills. So I can create that other view and limit what is seen on this view. All right. Okay. Now I could also click on related views or related fields. This shows me all of the items from the assigned to or the employee form, and I could click these, and they would also show on the view. So let me click on the phone and the hire date and the notes. So even though this field is related to the projects, I can show all the fields just as if they were part of the projects. So we'll come back to access the application. And you'll see the start date, okay, they're kind of over here. Here's the hire date, the phone number, and the notes. And it's a little cumbersome just because I didn't specify, that these are part of the employee. But they'd automatically put it at the end. If I come up here, back into edit mode, you'll see they're sitting over here. I could drag them right next to the assigned to. So anyhow, that's just one of the extra features that you have in linking the forms together. I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to take these off. Now I could put it like employee phone, employee hire date, employee notes. Let's kill that. All right. Okay, we're going to skip over column widths just to show you very briefly that you can indicate either by pixels or by percent. Sometimes it's useful, not always. So we're going to skip over that for now. And we're going to go into set criteria. I can restrict records. Instead of showing all records, I can restrict. And let's say I want a start date that is, let's see, start date, well, we could go for the next 60 days. So I just want to have a very limited view. I just want when the project is starting in the next 60 days. I can also limit in many other ways. And that's more of, depending on your application, you'll decide what you want to see and what you don't want to see. In some cases, it's not actually a requirement, because you do get the choice of saying when you're looking at the view that you can search for records. So I could show all of the projects, and then when I'm viewing them, I can say, show me just the ones for the next 60 days. And that way you could easily change it to the next 90 days. If it's built into this criteria here, you can only change it from the edit mode. Okay. And the filters, I don't have any good filters here, just because of the nature of this application. Basically, if you have a drop-down list or a radio button, it makes for a good filter. These don't. Well, that'll be a good one. All right. So we'll use that in a moment. Okay. So we'll save that. And grouping and sorting, very useful. I believe let's see. We'll group this by assigned to. All right, and we'll call that done. And sorting, we already have it sorted by project title, which is enough because those have to be unique. But in some cases, you'll have 2 or 3 fields that you want to use for sort, because the first one may not be unique. For example, if I had start date, and let's move that down. So start date and then project title. If I just sorted by start date, they're going to be random underneath start date because I might have 3 or 4 different projects starting on that same day. Having the project title sorted after the start date will put them into a specific order instead of kind of random. All right, so we'll click on Done for that. We'll come here to Permissions, and this is for people who are not administrators. You can decide, should I let them add records, should I let them edit records or delete records. And they also can duplicate records or bulk edit records. This one it's very useful, but can also be dangerous because it allows you to do things without all of the safeties in place of the on edit and on add field scripting. All right. Also, if they click the edit button, so you're allowing the edit button, you have the choice of should they be able to see all the fields or just the fields that are viewable on the view. So if you've hidden some fields on the view, then in some cases you may not want people to see the additional fields. So that's a useful feature. Okay. And the custom actions, I'm not going to go into that, but you can write scripts and put them into functions and create your own buttons on your view. And that can be very powerful, very complex. You need to understand the scripting language and such. But let's go back into the application. And you'll see it has the assigned to name here because we decided to group by that. So, and then down here we have John Smith's information, and we're grouped by his name. And one nice thing is it obviously makes the view easier to read, but it also takes out one column because you're putting it over here, which gives you more left and right space. So those are some of the features of edit mode within a view. And it actually gives you a lot of power, both creating the views and allowing what the users can see and do. So between what you can do on the view itself and in edit mode, Zoho provides a lot of power of viewing your data and manipulating your data. So I thank you for your time, and I hope this was informative. Thank you very much.